these are all just on my preconceived notions as of right now, here in week 9, ahead of week 10. I'll be picking for weeks 10, 11, and 12. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, as I'm in India, I'll probably make some level of adjustments to my picks and predictions as the weeks elapse. But standing here in week 10, looking ahead to the end of week 12, the start of week 13, let me see how well I can do in trying to predict the upcoming schedule. So, without further ado, I present to you the first week of this three-headed monster, week 10. And the week 10 slate starts off with a Thursday night matchup between the AFC West rivals, Las Vegas Raiders and Denver Broncos. Now look, the Broncos and Raiders are on complete opposite trajectories so far this season. The Raiders sitting close to the bottom of the league at 2-6. The Denver Broncos, one of only 3 teams with 7 wins so far this year. They are complete polar opposites. So, by all means, I think that the Denver Broncos should win this game. That being said, it has been a wild and chaotic NFL season. Every week there are some huge upsets, some crazy endings, and I feel like even the most surefire, normal, predictable of games tend to spin out of control. So every bone in my body is telling me that the Denver Broncos can and should win this game. But there's always some element of surprise. It is not even that I think that the Raiders are a good upset team. I picked them to make the upset last week because I didn't really trust Jacksonville like that. And we saw how that turned out. Brock Bowers came back, they balled out, and they eventually lost the game in overtime. But I do think that is the extent of their abilities against a lesser opponent like Jacksonville. Took it down to the wire, made it an OT game, made it spicy and fun for a week. Now they've traded away Jacoby Myers, so they're getting worse on offense. And they're playing a much better opponent. I think that the Broncos should take this pretty easily. I'm going Broncos on Thursday night. After that, we get another European game. We have, this time, the 3-5 Atlanta Falcons taking on the 7-2 Indianapolis Colts. Surprisingly, both of these teams are coming off of a loss. Both of these teams that used to feature Matt Ryan at quarterback with their heads hanging down low. The Falcons, very close game. Honestly, quite a commendable effort both on offense and defense by the Falcons last week, taking the Patriots down to the wire. I think the way that they made Drake May struggle with the turnovers, that was critical and just impressive. The way that they were able to make him uncomfortable, obviously landing a lot of sacks on him, but the fumble and the pick, a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes from the second year quarterback facing that Falcons defense. And on offense, Drake London had a hat trick. He had a very impressive performance. And now they get to go against the Colts. Now the Colts, kind of surprisingly, lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers hadn't been at the top of their game. Their defense looked to be in shambles. And this is the second time in the year where the Steelers' defense looked good, and they kind of just come out and punch their opponent in the mouth and show that they're still in it to win it. Credit to TJ Watt and company. They've forced, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions. It was a horrible day for the Colts offense in a year that has been historically good for them. And so, the Colts also making headlines today at the trade deadline. They were in the market for a cornerback, and so they went out and got their guy in Sauce Gardner from the New York Jets, giving up 2 first-round picks and Adonai Mitchell in the exchange. Now, on one hand, do I think Sauce Gardner is worth all of that? No, personally, I don't. I know that he's made 2 All-Pro teams. I know that he was Defensive Rookie of the Year. But I think that he is massively oversigned in his contract. I think that is a lot of money to pay a cornerback, and that too, he is no longer as consensus top 5 as he once used to be. I think year 1 and year 2, people really did value him at that level, and now I don't see him in those conversations as much anymore. I don't see him in those kinds of highlight plays as much. So I think the name value carries a little bit more than the actual talent at this point, but still a very good corner. Now the Colts, do I agree with the decision? Absolutely. I think that the Colts have stumbled into an unprecedented amount of success this season, and they need to capitalize. Your team, for the better half of the last decade, has been a burning dumpster fire of a franchise. It has not been fun to watch. It didn't look like there was any end near. And honestly, there's no way of saying that this season is not a fluke. We don't have that guarantee. It's not like people are looking at this team and automatically thinking, yeah, the AFC South now runs through the Colts for the indefinite future. Not at all. Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, they're all on a great run right now. But this Cinderella story could end at any moment, and you don't want to be last year's Viking team. So I like the push to move all in and go get a cornerback like Sauce Gardner, see how far you can take this thing. And I think that they're going to come out and they're going to bounce back against the Falcons. I don't think that they're in it for another loss. The Steelers, while they haven't been as impressive, they're still a winning team. And the Falcons are not that. They're incredibly bipolar. Some weeks they play a lot better than the others, but there's just no consistency. And against a team that's playing as well as the Colts, I don't think that the Falcons have that in them. So I'm going to go with the Colts winning here. After that, we get our regular 10 a.m. slate, and we see the 2-7 New York Giants take on the 5-3 Chicago Bears. The Bears winning a thriller last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. What was it? 42-47. Also, I think I just saw a fly on my screen. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, big game, no defense, crazy ending, and the Bears managed to pull out with the victory. Giants, on the other hand, playing against the 49ers, they competed. They did decently well, but they couldn't come out with the win, and that was against Mac Jones once again, not even Brock Purdy. And yeah, look, the Bears, it hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been all uphill, but sitting at 5-3, kind of, well within the playoff picture for the time being. I think they have to be pretty happy with Caleb Williams in year 2 and the first year of Ben Johnson as head coach. I think that spirits are high. The Giants, they can look forward to next season when they get their star wide receiver back, when they get Cam Scatterboo back. At the moment, yeah, you kind of had like a real nice couple of weeks when you beat the Eagles and when you almost beat the Broncos. Like, New York was up, New York football was up. I think you're back down. I think for the rest of the season, it's going to be hard for you guys to scrape together a win once again. At least you know that you have full faith in your guy Jackson Dart. He's so far the best quarterback from this draft class. And so, you live with what you have. You just gotta make it to the end of the season. I think in this game, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears winning it. After that, we have a matchup between the 6-2 Buffalo Bills and the 2-7 Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are kind of a funny team. We saw them lose very badly on Thursday Night Football, 28-6 to the Baltimore Ravens, and after the game, they fired their general manager, and then they announced that they would not be moving on from Mike McDaniel until next season. And one of my friends, I really liked the way that he put it. It's never a good sign when you have to announce that you're not going to be firing your coach midseason. And that basically sums up the Dolphins year. I agree with the decision. I don't think it makes any sense to get rid of him now. But yeah, they're doomed. The year is completely cooked if you're the Dolphins. As for the Bills, the standard regular season win against the Chiefs, great game. You go toe-to-toe, wire-to-wire. You come out with the hard-fought victory, and you feel like you have a chance in the postseason once again, once the time comes around. So we'll have to see if this season is any different for the Buffalo Bills. But for the time being, they're at 6-2. They look as good as they ever do. And all they have to do is get another easy win against a divisional opponent, this time in Miami. But after last week's performance, I don't know that they can handle another dual threat mobile quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do against Josh Allen if they just got done dirty like that by Lamar. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. Next up, we get our two purple teams in the league facing off against one another, with the 3-5 Baltimore Ravens and the 4-4 Minnesota Vikings. Now let's pause for a moment and actually take in that Vikings win, which to me came as a huge shock. I saw the headlines of J.J. McCarthy making the start in this game, Carson Wentz being put on IR, and the fact that J.J. said oh yeah, I feel fantastic, I feel like born again or something like that, he said, for his ankle injury. And I didn't buy it. I didn't think that it was really going to amount to anything. I thought it would be a fairly decent victory by the Detroit Lions. So the fact that Minnesota was able to go out there and not only hold the Detroit offense down, but score enough points to win this game, very impressive. The Vikings, I'm not very high on them. I never was to enter the year. I'm still not the highest, but that is kind of a statement victory, you could say. They're still a football team. They're still a unit. If they can get a win like that with J.J. McCarthy in at quarterback, then I shouldn't be so quick to rule them out. On the other hand, same goes for the Ravens. They were down and out for many weeks in a row with Cooper Rush playing at quarterback and Lamar sitting out. Lamar is now back in, and we see them playing like how they usually do. Multiple touchdowns through the air, lots of running work in the ground game. They completely stomped their opponent. This is the Baltimore football we were thinking we were going to see the entire season long. They got off to a slow start and then hit the injury bug, but now they look much better. I think they're a little bit more well-rested, and I like their odds of trying to climb back into this playoff picture. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens getting the win against their purple opponents and the Purple People Eaters. After that, we have a matchup between two of the absolute worst teams in the league. The 2-6 Cleveland Browns and the 1-7 New York Jets. This is going to be a monstrosity. Dylan Gabriel versus Justin Fields. Must not watch TV. I don't know. I think if the rosters were how they were prior to the trade deadline, I might actually go New York. I do think that Cleveland's defense at times has been impressive, but New York getting the win and then going into their bye, I feel like they have some sense. I thought maybe they'd be able to build on it, but knowing that they just shipped off Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys and just got rid of Sauce Gardner to the Colts, and then didn't trade Brees Hall when he was asking to be traded, I think that's a recipe for disaster. I don't think I can have any shares in the New York Jets win this week. I do think as bad as Cleveland Browns are, on the other hand, I didn't hear any real drama from them. Maybe I missed it, but they did not have an active trade deadline like the Jets did. So I think that the Browns have a slight leg up, and I'm going to go with them test. If you're a Patriots fan, this is how you know that they are in it to win it. You know, the real deal. If you can go on the road against the Bucks and collect a win here, it is pretty much cemented that a postseason appearance is on the cards. The Bucks are a very good football team. I don't think it will be an easy matchup, but I also do think the Buccaneers are fairly injured. We've seen Bucky Irving out for many weeks. We know that Mike Evans is basically done for the year. Chris Godwin, I don't really know what the deal is with him. So things are not going that well in the health department for Tampa Bay. Now I know that last week they just had their bye, if I'm not mistaken, and the Patriots, while they did win, it wasn't their best showing. Got off to a quick start. I think we're leading 21-7, and then almost allowed the Falcons to fully come back. Defense let up points when it mattered most, and offensively, they generated a lot more turnovers than they had been. One of them especially bad, the strip sack of that one really hurt them right before the half. So I don't know, on one hand it could go down and it wasn't amazing, but you still won. And the fact that you can play like that and still win, I do think is impressive. It's like the Steelers game. Yes, the Steelers game, lots of bad errors, some of them very correctable errors. And then we saw how they did in all of the weeks following that. I mean, they're still on that win streak from the Steelers game. So yes, while the Patriots didn't look great, I think that they have managed to really mitigate their mistakes, and I think they're still going to do well. I don't think this is a testament to them being sloppy or having a fluke type run. Obviously, I'm very biased, but I think the game showed, yes, while they can still get pushed into a corner, get into a dicey situation, they're still able to maintain their lead and come out on top and win the game. So I think it was very promising. Yes, too close for comfort, but still very promising prospect of what is to come for the rest of this year. And ultimately, I'm gonna ride with my team. I'm not gonna go and say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just a better football team. I think that they have all the means to win this game. But I'm going to go with my guys. I'm going to go with the New England Patriots going on the road and beating the Buccaneers. Because so far, the Patriots have been an excellent team on the road this year. All of their victories are... No, sorry. Every road game they've played, they've won so far. And that's not to say that they're going to continue that for the entire year. But I like their odds. And I'm going to go with a Patriots victory here. After that, we get a matchup between the 1-8 New Orleans Saints and the 5-4 Carolina Panthers. Yeesh. The Saints started Tyler Shough, and it went about as well as you would expect. I mean, the team's not going to be good. The team is just going to be bad. That's all that really is to say. The Panthers, on the other hand, how about, 5-4 after 9 weeks? Who would have thunk? And I think a lot of the credit does need to go to Rico Dowdle. Dowdle in the 2 weeks that Hubbard went down really stepped up, became the engine of this offense, and took them to 2 straight victories. Then Hubbard came back. They kind of gave him back. A lot of the starting touches went kind of 50-50. And then last week against the Packers, they announced, actually, we're going to put Rico back in the driver's seat. And look what happened. You just beat one of the best teams in the NFC in the Green Bay Packers. So I think coaching-wise, decision-making-wise, they're doing the right thing. Bryce Young coming back, you immediately start off with a win against a very formidable opponent. I can't say that I am, all in, that I still fully trust this Panthers team. but they're getting wins in ways that they haven't been in the last couple years. I think that they're kind of like the NFC equivalent of the Jags. Like, hey man, you're at least you can win games this year. Huge pat on the back. That is, I'm so proud of you, buddy. That's kind of the general sentiment. I don't know where it's gonna lead or how to really feel about the team, but I'm just super stoked that they're doing what they're doing. So in this case, I think I'm gonna go with the Panthers getting another win, climbing to 6-4 in 2025, while the Saints fall to 1-9. After that, we have a AFC South matchup between the 5-3 Jacksonville Jaguars and the 3-5 Houston Texans. Now, the Jags barely winning that game against the Las Vegas Raiders, and in fact, if it wasn't for an NFL record-breaking 68-yard field goal by Cam Little to give them 3 points in that game, the game wouldn't have even gone to overtime. Now, I understand it wasn't a game-winning, game-tying 68-yard field goal, but those points were valuable nonetheless. And so, yeah, they barely squeak by the Raiders. And we've got some unfortunate news from the Jags. I know that they recently lost Travis Hunter to the IR. I think Brian Thomas Jr. just got hurt. And so the Jaguars, they go out and they shop in the wide receiver market. They steal a guy from the team who they just beat. And so now the Jaguars are the proud owners of a Jacoby Myers in the wide receiver room. And I think Jacoby Myers is a very solid wide receiver. I mean, route running, and he, for who he is and where he was drafted, he is kind of an exceptionally hard worker, exceptional talent for where he was to where he is in terms of reputation and reliability in the NFL these days. So, big ups to the Jags for landing a guy like him. I think he'll help in this period where they see a lot of injuries. The Texans, while they didn't win 2 weeks ago and they didn't win last week against the Broncos, I think time is on their side. They have been pretty injured in the wide receiver room as well. Schultz, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, all of these guys not as healthy. And so this week we see the Texans defense take on the Jaguars offense, and the Jags defense take on the Texans offense. I think it's honestly really evenly matched. Like, I know that the Texans are 3-5 and the Jags are 5-3, but I think that these two teams are playing kind of like, I don't think that either team has a huge positional advantage over the other unit. I think that the Jags are prone to mistakes and the Texans defense is one of the best. And on the other hand, I think that the Texans offense is prone to mistakes and the Jags defense at times this year has really been able to capitalize on mistakes. So I could see it going either way. Personally, I don't know if it's just a narrative or gut feeling. I have an inkling that the Texans might pull out this game. They're at 3-5. It's not ideal. They're not an ideal place within the division. It looks like the Colts are the runaway favorites. But if you win this game, there's still a sliver of a chance. Like, you know that the Ravens are gonna grind, and you still have a lead on them, so you may as well try and fight for a playoff spot while you still can. And the Jags, yeah, they've done a lot of impressive things this year, just like the Panthers. They're doing things we don't ordinarily see them do. But I don't think that they've really cemented themselves as like this is a good team for sure. They are still beatable. I think that the Texans, in this rivalry matchup, playing at home, they'll pull out a much needed win here and move to 4-5, while the Jaguars will fall to 5-4. After that, in our afternoon slate, we're gonna have a matchup between the 3-5 Arizona Cardinals and the 6-2 Seattle Seahawks. Cardinals. That was impressive. I did not think they were going to go out on Monday Night Football and beat the Cowboys, or make the Cowboys' offense look as lousy as it did. Yes, Jacoby Brissett playing. I did think they would do a bit better. I did think that their chances were higher of performing well, but I wasn't expecting a victory by any means. So congrats to the Cardinals for picking up their third win on the year. As for the Seahawks, my goodness, was that a dominant victory against the Commanders. Like, beat them left, right, and center. Game was over at halftime, and then you really ended their season. Like, whether intentionally or not, the Commanders are cooked as a result of that game. And Seattle is sitting at 6-2, tied with the Rams for first place in this division. While no part of me wants to admit it, Seattle looks pretty legit. Like, they look good. They look really good. And yeah, I'm not going to hate on them in any capacity in this matchup. I think that they are the better team by far. I think as much as Arizona came out and put up a surprising performance, they're not going to be able to do that against Seattle's defense. And I don't think that Seattle offensively is going to struggle against Arizona. I think Seattle takes this quite easily. Now when we talk about bias, here we have the 6-2 LA Rams taking on the 6-3 San Francisco 49ers. And I'll be honest, Matthew Stafford has been on one. 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the year. The man is dang near 40 years old. And with all of the concerns about his back in the offseason, with Puka even missing some time so far this year, whether healthy, whether not healthy, this team has been a force to be reckoned with. And on the other side of the ball, San Francisco 49ers, massively injured, like, goodness gracious, every single week a new key player going down. And you think that you're going to get back your stars. And some of them have started coming back, but still no Brock Purdy. So, it's just a matter of, will Brock Purdy come back this week for real? Are we really going to see it? And how is he going to do against a team like the LA Rams, which has been honestly killing it on both sides of the field? Now, I'm speaking out of personal agenda here. I still think the 49ers have a chance to win the division. Now hear me out. Coaching-wise, what they've done so far this year, to be at 6 wins, while Seattle and LA are both at full strength and also only have 6 wins, that's really impressive. Health-wise, Kittle was out for a while. Purdy's still kind of out. And defensively, you've lost a lot of the guys. Do I think you're capable of a deep playoff run? No. But at full strength, could you still take the division? Is it still possible? Yes. When you were at 100% in week 1, you took down Seattle. When you played against the Rams last time, it was an overtime victory in your favor. So you have the divisional advantages so far. I think Shanahan knows how important this game is. I think this really, it all depends on how Brock Purdy looks, but if Brock Purdy can go out and execute, this is going to be a fantastic game to watch in terms of just coaching. Sean McVay versus Kyle Shanahan, who wants it more? I think the Rams are the clear favorite to win the game. I think that they've just been playing better football, they've been more complete, and more people think that they actually have a purpose. They could actually do something in the postseason, and I agree with all of those takes. But I think San Francisco plays with an extra edge when it comes to the Seahawks and the Rams. I think I'm going to go with the 49ers getting the win at home. As much as LA has been good, I can't shake the feeling that the Niners are going to manage to hold their ground in Brock Purdy's return. And if Brock Purdy doesn't come back, no, I'm not going to give Mac Jones the double dip. I don't think he can do it twice in one season, pull off the great upset. And if he does, I mean, paint him a mural, build him a statue, because that would be unbelievable. After that, we get the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders. I think the Commanders win. I'm sorry, backtrack. Let me say this more carefully. I don't think the Commanders win very many more games this year. Unfortunately, that game against Seattle, I think that has put a bookend on the Commanders' season. Record-wise, sitting at 3-6, they are done. And also, just Jaden Daniels' injury, not able to play many games this year. And now, even though it was his hamstring, his knee that was keeping him out, it ends up being his elbow that keeps him out for the rest of the year with a dislocated elbow. Tough. Very, very tough. I mean, I was really rooting for the Commanders just because of how hard they've had it. I think that it was cool to see them completely flip around in 1 year, just like the Texans did. And kind of similarly in the Texans year too, not quite to the same degree. I know we saw the Texans struggle a bit, and CJ Stroud hit his sophomore slump a bit, but I think you blame a lot of that more on well, I guess both of them are really injury dependent. Like, it wasn't Stroud who was injured, but the offense around him. And this year, it was mostly Daniels himself who was injured, but also Terry McLaurin and some of the other pieces. So yeah, great rookie year, make that all-in push, kind of falls flat, and now you're just, honestly now, Commanders, go into tank mode, get some guy, like 3-6, you could finish as a bottom 5 overall team, me as well. I mean, I don't know, I don't know why you would really want to play a better schedule next year. I think a lot of your success last year does come from the fact that when you go from being worst to first, you have that 4th place finisher schedule. If you can get worse than New York, I mean, go for it. It'll make next year all that more alluring. You can have high hopes once again. You can rebuild. You can get a great draft pick out of it. It can be a strong season next year. This year is done. And yeah, as sad as that is, you gotta just accept it now and do what you can to prepare for next year. And yeah, looking at the Lions, I think playing the Lions after a loss has to be a top 3 most scary thing in football. Like Dan Campbell after losing a game is a man with very little regard for human life. I think he is going to go out there, and not only is he upset that they just lost against the Minnesota Vikings and JJ McCarthy in their first ever battle against him, but now you play against the team that ended your season last year and humiliated you on a national stage. And we saw what happened last time the Lions got to play against a team that did something like that to them. When Lions and Cowboys faced off last year, it was an onslaught. It was just pain on pain on pain on pain on pain, and they never stopped dishing it out. They were running trick plays on trick plays. They did not care. I think it's going to be the exact same case this week. Washington down, head in the dirt, knowing that they're going to be from one of the best teams in the league last year to one of the worst the rest of the way through. They are completely miserable. And I think Dan Campbell is going to walk into the building and make their lives that much worse. He is going to go for 40 to 50 points in this game. And it if they stop at 35, I think he will view it as a disappointment. I think if they don't score at least in the 40s, they are not going to leave the building satisfied. So I would watch out. I personally, if I were a Commanders fan, I would be very weary heading into this game about my own mental health. And that brings us to our last two games of this Week 10 slate. The Sunday night matchup between the Steelers and the Chargers, and the Monday night matchup between the Eagles and the Packers. So starting off with two of our AFC playoff teams on Sunday Night Football, 5-3 Steelers taking on the 6-3 Chargers. The Chargers getting some unfortunate news earlier this week that Joe Alt is going to be sidelined for the rest of the year as he is undergoing season-ending ankle injury. So a big blow to their offensive line, which was already down Rashawn Slater to start the year, and you thought that Alt was going to come back, bolster the front line, and then when you get Hampton back, you get that real running game. Now, I think it's a big blow. I think the Chargers team that we saw in the initial opening weeks looked fantastic. While they've been good after that, I don't know that I trust them nearly as much with the offensive line injuries and with the running back injuries. The Steelers, I've had a hard time betting on them, betting against them this year. It's not been very consistent football from them. But hey, if you could string together a win last week against the Colts, you are proving that you are actually not as bad as I thought you were against the Packers. Thought you could beat the Packers, and you did not do well at all. And then you go and you beat one, if not the best team in football so far, in the Colts. So, can't write off their offense, can't write off their defense. Right there, right at that, like, just above mid-category, as they always are. Great job by Mike Tomlin. And so, yeah, now you take on a Chargers team that made some bad mistakes against the Titans. Like, yes, you win 27-20. But that pick six, not good. Not good at all. One of the few teams that made the Titans, like, put the Titans in somewhat of a winning position at any point in a game, which I don't like. I think I'm going to ride the Steelers high. I think that the Chargers, slugged it out, got the win last week against the lesser opponent, but it was not that impressive. Steelers, on the other hand, outduel a very good opponent, get the statement win, and I think they're going to look to keep building their lead in the AFC North. I think that they can feel that the Ravens are riding their coattails, that they're coming for them to snatch their chain, and they need to get to the winning record now before it's too late. They need to get to the 9 wins and then fizzle out, not the other way around. So I think that they're going to go on the road to LA and beat the Chargers to move up to 6-3. And then finally, we have our Monday night matchup between the Eagles and the Packers. 6-2 Philadelphia Eagles coming off their bye against the 5-1 Green Bay Packers. This is our NFL Brazil game from last year. We got to see both green teams in Brazil, where there was a lot of green-related gang activity and affiliation. We now see this game back in the States. I don't know what to say about the Packers, man. Like, the Packers they flip-flop. They flip-flop from being a really good team with a lot of swag to one of the most swagless teams in the NFL. Like, the all-white jersey, the way that Jordan Love was drawing up dimes to Tucker Kraft and company against the Steelers. The offense was immaculate, and the defense was also effervescent. They just were dominating. But your 2 losses and your tie are so mind-bogglingly bad lost to the Cleveland Browns, the Carolina Panthers, and got 40 dropped on your head by the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it's weird. It's so strange. They do fine. They do excellent against a lot of the really good teams in the league. But it's like when they're playing the bottom dwellers, they just play to their level to such a degree that they end up losing. It's so bizarre. And yeah, it's the uniform, I think, plays a huge part. I think they played against the Cleveland Brown jersey, and they didn't know what to do, so they lost that. And they put on one of the worst jerseys in the, well, I can't even say in the league, in like the last 10 years. That was horrible. That was a disgusting jersey. You look like the Bears and you play like the Bears. Like, what are you doing in those uniforms? Not a good look by any means. And so, Packers still reeling in from what they just allowed. Eagles, on the other hand, they're coming off a bye. I don't think Saquon has an injury designation. They didn't lose A.J. Brown to the trade deadline, and so the rumors have lost A.J. Brown in his book have won. He gets another year of offseason drama. I think the Eagles are just a better team. I think that they've been more consistent this year than the Green Bay Packers. I think it's toe to toe. Realistically, both teams, it'll be a great game. I think it's a fantastic Monday night game. It could go either way very well, but I just don't know what version of the Green Bay Packers we're going to see pop out. Is it the Packers that we know and love, or is it the, I'm feeling like putting up 10 points in 3 quarters Packers? I don't know. It's really hard to say. And Tucker Kraft getting hurt for the entire year, I think that's a huge blow. Out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. I think it was the best player on that offense outside of Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love. I mean, without him, you now go back to a position where Romeo Doubs is their best player. I know that Jaden Reed is on the cusp of coming back, but Tucker Kraft really had grown into like the main guy. I know everyone is expecting Matthew Golden to kind of slide in as that top wide receiver, become like the alpha, true number 1 guy, and we just haven't seen that happen. It's been mostly Doubs at the front of the mix, Golden flashing at times. Jacobs has been nice. I mean, Jordan Love in certain games has been nice, but if there's one guy who had multiple big games, multiple very impressive performances, it was Tucker Kraft, and now he's gone. So we're gonna need to see. Oh, what's his name? I feel like I know his number and not his name, which is kind of crazy. I can only think of other backup tight ends. I'm thinking Mayer and I'm thinking Schoonmaker, but it's the other one. Well, the other white backup tight end that's in this league that I just can't put my finger on. But he's going to have to step up. I don't think he's nearly as talented, unfortunately. So, big loss. I think it's going to hurt them. I think the Packers are going to see their first back-to-back loss of this year while losing at home to the Eagles on Monday Night Football. And so, that concludes Week 10, the Week 10 lineup of games. All of my 14 of 14 selections made. So far on the season, I'm 83 and 51. I ended up going 8 and 6 last week. So I'm still floating very close to that 80th percentile at 79.1% at the moment. And heading into our next 2 weeks, I'm just going to go through them more so rapid fire style. Not as much in-depth thought, just my quick takes. So heading now into out of week 10 and into week 11, who are we going to see? On Thursday Night Football, we have the New York Jets versus the New England Patriots. I'm going with the Pats. Next up, in our Europe game, we have the Washington Commanders taking on the Miami Dolphins. Commanders in the trenches, Marcus Mariota in. As bad as the Dolphins have been, I think that with Tua and Daniels, they can beat the Commanders shorthanded. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins getting the win there. Then we see the Carolina Panthers go to Atlanta, take on the Falcons. And I think the Panthers will have gotten the win this week. I think the Falcons will have gotten the loss this week. And so naturally, the Falcons have to do something that doesn't, make sense. So I think that they're going to go and beat the better opponent in the Carolina Panthers to move to a 4-6 record. While Carolina, we don't want them to get too hot. They're good, but they're not that good. They're going to get a silly, winnable loss in Atlanta. Then we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills. I think that the Bucks, as good as they are, take a look at that division. I don't think that they really aren't that much of a threat of Carolina catching up. The Bills are playing catch up. They get the must win against the Kansas City Chiefs, but they're still behind the Patriots, and they know that they need to beat every opponent to get back ahead. So if the Patriots do go out and win, regardless, if the Patriots lose against the Bucks and the Buffalo Bills win, I think that they climb possibly back to the top of the division. Oh, we have the tiebreaker, so maybe not. But if the Patriots beat the Buccaneers and the Bills lose, I don't know. I'd be pretty excited, but I think that the Bills understand that that can't happen. I think that the Bills will get the victory at home. Every single important game that the Bills have this year is at home. Then we have 3-5 Texans taking on the 1-8 Titans. At this point, I think it'll be 4-5 and 1-9. Or are the Titans on bye? They might be on bye in week 10. I don't think that they're going to come out of the bye looking any better. I think that the Texans have that in the bag. So we'll go Texans. Then the Bears versus the Vikings. The Vikings, if they win this week, they'll be 5-4. If they lose, they'll be 4-5. The Bears, they have the potential to be 5-4 or 6-3. Wait, I'm getting all confused. Anywho, big revenge game on deck. You have J.J. McCarthy now back in the starting lineup. He went out to Soldier Field, embarrassed you guys on opening week, and you now have the opportunity to get your leg back while you do it. While you do it in Minnesota. It's hard to say. After just beating Detroit, Minnesota looks... They don't look horrible. The Bears, I think, have to get this to prove that they are at all legit. If they want to actually go to the playoffs, they need to win this game. I don't know that they could win a playoff game. I don't really see that in the cards for them. But if they want to make the playoffs, if they want to finish not third in this division, not fourth in this division, but third at the very least, they need to win this game against the Vikings, or else they are bound to just repeat the same plays that they've been year in and year out all these years. Take all that anger, all that pent-up stress, unleash it on the Vikings, get the victory, and have a chance to finish maybe second, but realistically third in the division. Then we get the Packers versus the Giants in New York. Packers coming off a Monday night loss, back-to-back losses against the New York Giants. I think that they'll turn the ship around and get the win. I think the Giants will lose once again. Then we see the Steelers and the Bengals, and we saw this story once before. I think it was very funny that the Bengals were able to pull off the win last time. I don't think that the Steelers are going to allow it to happen again, this time at home. I think that they'll get the win against the Chargers, and then I think that they'll continue on a bit of a hot streak after beating both the Chargers and the Colts in back-to-back weeks. They'll be able to put the Bengals to bed to go to split on the series, but move to 7-3. Then we've got the 6-3 Chargers against the 5-3 Jags. I'm projecting this to be 6-4 against 5-4. I think that the Chargers are the better team between the two. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers winning there. That would bring the Jaguars back to 500. Then we have the Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams. I don't think that I can have the Rams lose in back-to-back weeks. I know I have them losing against the 49ers. And that would put them a little bit back in the one-place spot. And I think Seattle would be in the lead for that one-place spot. But if we want this to be an even-killed race all around, I think the Rams have to win this one. So playing at home, I think the Rams will take down Seattle. And then another very important game for the NFC West, we have the 49ers versus the Cardinals taking place in Arizona. I don't think Arizona has, they're the odd man out. They're the one team in this division that truly just sucks. So I'm going to go with them losing that game to the 49ers, allow the 49ers to keep first place in the division. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns. This would be in Cleveland. I'm going to go Ravens. And then we have the 5-4 Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 7-2 Denver Broncos in Denver. Could it happen? Can we see it? Chiefs just lost to Josh Allen and the Bills, as they tend to do in the regular season. That brings them to 4 losses this year. They almost always win their divisional games, but we saw them lose to the Chargers early this season. And the Broncos are completely ahead at the moment. At the very moment, they're completely ahead. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Broncos. The Chiefs, they will be a thorn in your side. They will be good for many, many years to come. But for one season, you can definitely play spoiler. You can hypothesize about all years past this. But right now, you can only focus on this 1 year. The 7-2 season that you have. The potentially 8-2 season that you have. And you can pull off something great if you give Kansas City their 5th loss in 10 games played. I think it's a lot. I think the stakes are very high. I think that the Broncos will be up for the task. Now, if Kansas City comes out swinging, it is what it is. You just hope and pray that they don't claw back out of the dirt and take the top of the franchise back from you in the last stages of the year. But so far, I like what I've seen from the Broncos. I think they can do it, and they can actually win the division if they win this game. Then we have the Lions versus the Eagles. I like the Lions more than I like the Eagles. I think that the Eagles will get the Monday night victory, but then they'll have a bit of a shorter week. I think that the Lions will have a lot of fun and antics playing against the Commanders, getting that big win. Then they'll play primetime football, and I think that they know they haven't done well on primetime so far. They did not live up on that last matchup against the Chiefs. I think they will look to do much better, because this is it. This is potentially 2 of the top dogs in the NFC. Obviously someone from the West as well, and maybe the Buccaneers, but you're staring down the barrel of the gun in the Philadelphia Eagles, knowing that this is probably who the NFC runs through, unless you have something to say about it. And I think Dan Campbell and Jared Goff in that offense will have something to say about it. So I'm going to go with the Lions getting the win there. And then you have, Big day Hispanic football fans. Cowboys versus Raiders on Monday Night Football. Is this going to be a fun game? I think we could see a lot of points scored here. Cowboys defense especially bad. The Raiders could take a page out of their own book from this past week. Go crazy once again. Maybe hang 25 up to 30 points. Cowboys could do the same. Like the Cowboys, I think they should win this game. I thought the same against the Cardinals. I think that they'll be better with Quinnen Williams now in their roster. They gotta get one win, so Jerry Jones can be like, hey, I'm a genius. Look, we got rid of Micah. But we have an even better defensive playmaker now. And then they'll win a game against the Raiders, and he'll justify the entire trade or something crazy like that. And I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys winning on Monday Night Football. Yeah. And then we have our last week, our Week 12 matchups. This is going to be on Thursday Night Football, the Bills versus the Texans. I feel like if things were going well for the Texans this year, this could be that like sneaky upset loss for the Bills. But the Texans haven't been good. I mean, they'll enter this game with a losing record. They'll leave this game with a losing record. I don't think they'll get back to 500. The Bills, I think, will win this game, even on the road. Then Steelers versus Bears. Do I like the prospects of picking the Steelers to win 4 weeks in a row? No. I mean, they're really only supposed to get to like 11 wins. I don't like it. I think you get your win against the Chargers. I think you get your win against the Bengals. And then the Bears, the Chicago Bears, will end your winning streak. I think that the Bears didn't have them in the playoff picture while I do have the Steelers. I think that the Steelers realistically have a better baseline of playing football. Chicago is kind of all over the place. But I like their moxie. I like how unpredictable they can be. I would rather see them win this game. So I'm going to go with the selfish decision and pick the Bears to beat the Steelers. Then we see the Patriots take the Bengals. The Bengals offense can go crazy. If the Patriots defense played how they did against the Falcons, something bad could happen. Especially after a win against the Bucks. It could be a bit tough to keep the win streak going. But I'm not going to predict the loss. I think they're going to win this game. It's obviously, all they have to do is play well on offense, and they'll be fine. Because the Bengals aren't going to get a stop. So defensively, if they can just get one stop, they're good. I think they should be able to. It could be like a 35-28 type game. It's not exactly how you want to win it, but Patriots offensively, I think they have the ability to score over 30, and I think they can hopefully limit the Bengals to just 4 touchdowns. Then we've got the Giants versus the Lions. I'm going the Lions. And then we have the Packers versus the Vikings. So the Packers getting the loss against the Eagles and getting the win. Getting the win in the following week in the Vikings. I'm just a hater, man. I just don't like picking the Vikings to win. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for them to beat the Lions and then lose in back-to-back weeks to the Ravens and to the Bears and then to the Packers. I'll give it to them. I don't know. I think it's too crazy for me to say, yeah, the Vikings, you just beat a great team. Here are 3 straight losses. And I mean, realistically, they could probably beat the Bears more than they can the Packers. But the Packers are not trustworthy, so I will go with the Vikings in Week 12, and the Packers getting another loss. Then we get Seattle versus Tennessee. Another win in the books for Seattle. Oh snap. Oh snap. Then we get Indianapolis versus Kansas City. Oh, I'm gonna have to pick my battles here. Okay, because really speaking, I don't think that Kansas City loses twice in a row. I don't think that they lose to both the Broncos and the Colts. And I know that Kansas City, or at least Patrick Mahomes, has never beaten the Colts. In all years prior, it's been like they were horrible, and he just happened to not win the game. This year, the Colts are actually good. They're actually better offensively than the Chiefs. So, it would be awesome to see this streak keep going. But I don't know if... No, there's no way I can say that the Chiefs are going to be a losing record. I think... they have to win one of these games. Is it the Colts? Is it the Broncos? He might be a chip on his shoulder. Yes, they want to win the division. Obviously, every year they want to win the division. But it's the last team in the league that he hasn't beaten outside of the Chiefs themselves, I'm pretty sure. And then, yeah, that too, at their best, is the Colts in their best form, him beating them. It would do a lot for Patrick Mahomes internally, I think. He's going to be too motivated. Yeah, I think that the Chiefs are going to beat the Colts. As much as I want to pick the Colts, I think that the Chiefs are going to beat the Colts. Then we have the Ravens and the Jets. Ravens currently 3-5, projected 2 more wins. I think that the Ravens can go 3-0 in this stretch. They might lose to the Vikings, but they can win the other 2 pretty easily. So, we'll see. 5-6 or 6-5 by the time we hit Week 12. And then we get Browns versus Raiders. I'll go Raiders. I mean, it's not a good matchup. I don't like it for either team. But at this point, we might see Shadur step in. I don't know how long they're going to keep going with Dylan Gabriel. It's not that he's doing anything wrong, but I feel like the curiosity will get the better of them eventually. And I think it would be cool if Sanders took his first game against Brady and the management team at Vegas, because Brady's been doing so much mentoring of Shadur. If he got his first start against Brady's team, well then Brady could use all of his notes and just give it straight to the Raiders. Hey, by the way, guys, Shadur is really good at this, and he is dog shit and all of these other things. Why don't you target that? And then they pick him apart, and yeah, he has a horrible debut. It would be not an ideal way for him to start his NFL career. And let's say that this is actually a Dylan Gabriel game. I still like the Raiders' chances. I'll go with the Raiders getting the win. Then we get Jags versus Cardinals. Jacksonville. Yeah, I'll go Jacksonville. Cowboys versus Eagles. No, I'm reaching. Eagles already beating the Packers, then losing to the Lions. I don't think that they'll lose 2 in a row. On here, I have the Cowboys because I think at some point they'll get another crazy upset win like they did against the Packers, even though that was a tie. They could maybe do it against the Eagles, but no, I'm not going to predict it. I'll go with the Eagles winning. the Saints versus the Falcons. And this is where I think the Falcons will falcon out once again. They'll lose this week. They'll beat the Panthers next week. And then they will do the unthinkable and lose to the Saints. Yeah. And then we get Tampa Bay versus Los Angeles Rams. Tampa. Terrible stretch of games coming up. You have to play New England, then you have to play Buffalo, then you have to play Los Angeles. I don't think they'll lose all three. And I think time will help them get better. Realistically, of the three opponents, New England is the most winnable. But for my personal prediction, I'll go with them beating the Rams. I'll go with them getting back-to-back losses, but then coming out with a victory against the Rams. And then I've got on Monday Night Football in Week 12 between the Panthers and the Niners, I do have the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Panthers will move to 6-4, and then they'll fall to 6-6. That seems like a right place for them to be. And yeah, that's it. That is all 3 weeks, all 3 upcoming weeks of football covered in an hour and 15 minutes. So let's see how accurate this ends up being. I may go in and change a couple things around, probably relating to injury. I'll have to be mindful and careful of it just because India is like 13 hours ahead of where we are, so all the games will be at a weird time. I probably won't get a chance to watch all that much. In the intermediary, I have one video that I prepped to release during my absence, so I'll put that in the middle of my trip, but it's going to be a down period for the channel. I was traveling this past weekend, and yeah, through most of November, it's just not ideal. So things will pick back up more so in December. I'll be back from India on the 22nd, so maybe by the end of week 12, I'll be able to start making content again. But we'll have to see as it goes. But for now, this is goodbye. Thank you for joining me in the first 10 weeks of the season. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll see you on the other side. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.